Welcome back to The Vocalist. Today we are listening to Sinéad O'Connor. I recently saw this exact performance during a Patreon hangout, and since I haven't featured her on the channel yet, I thought, honestly, this was just too good to not watch again. So that is what we're doing today. Here we go.
It's been several hours since you took your love away. I'm gone every night and sleep all day since you took your love away. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see every choose. I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant, but nothing, I said nothing can take away this blue. Nothing compares to you.
One of the reasons I love this performance is we hear so many different vocal sounds throughout the entire thing, but even we're a minute and a half in. So some of the sounds she makes are... Sorry, I'm having a vocal coach moment over here. I can't help but think, when I work with singers, sometimes they're just really trying to achieve very specific sounds. And so that's what we work on. And it can be so frustrating when you're working toward a specific sound to hear a singer who, at least on the surface, it just sounds like they can do it all. Because there is exploration that helps singers achieve these sounds. And granted, I haven't watched a lot of live performances of Sinéad O'Connor, but she just seems like she just puts it all on the line and is willing to try new things, experiment with new sounds. And honestly, I don't know where I'm going with that. My mind's racing. So back we go. I'm going to try and point out some of said sounds.
It's been several hours.
The first three words, it's been syllables. I guess we'll say it. We didn't even get to 7. She starts with a vocal fry. Then we get something that's very breathy, almost like... Hold on, let me play that again.
It's been several hours.
So we get the fry, we get the breathiness, and then we get... It's the beginning of the word 7. We get full adduction, but there is a narrowing that's happening in the larynx there that's giving us this sort of metallic sound, and there's some nasality there. There's already so much contrast in the first 3 notes, and it's just... Where she goes from there is just so beautiful, but to start with so much variety, I think is just also very beautiful.
It's been 7 hours and 50 since you took your love.
I love that sound that we just heard that was a little bit more chest dominant, a little breathy. It sounds to me that it is likely one of the tones that is most closely aligned to her speaking voice. It doesn't sound particularly affected by any changes in the vocal track. And if you listen, it's just so warm and so, like, the tone itself is just pristine.
Your love. I'm gone every night.
When she sing, I know I'm going to be stopping so much. Gone. Listen to the shift that happens on that one vowel.
I'm gone every night and sleep all day.
I won't go back, but that is a beautiful example of how what we are hearing as listeners is transformed through the vocal tract. We can do so many different things with articulators and resonators and placement to change a sound that is being created at the vocal fold level. Even if you just think of the word gone and you spread and widen your palate, gone, like same vowel, same sound happening in the folds, but we are changing what the listener hears by shaping. And that was just one brief example of how she does that. And I believe that happens again later.
Your love. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see whoever I choose.
That sort of metallic sound I mentioned, sorry, I was about ready to like demonstrate it. It's not, it sounds to me like there's a little bit of depression of the larynx. And then the root of the tongue is very close to the soft palate. And the soft palate is in a more neutral, lowered position so that we can hear more out of the nasal port.
I could eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant, but nothing, I said nothing can take away this blues, 'cause nothing compares to you. It's been so long without you, like a put out songs. Nothing can stop these lonely tears from falling. Tell me, baby, where did I go wrong? I could put my arm around every boy I see.
This more projected sound feels so open to me. And if I had to, if you think about that initial sound that was a little airier that I mentioned was really closely aligned to her speaking voice, I feel like this one also is. It's not affected, it's just very projected.
I could put my arm around every boy I see. They remind me. I went to the doctor and guess what he told me? Guess what he
up and get that transition into the main theme. But watching her like physically jump up and down, there's so much intensity in her body, and yet her intonation is so spot on. Like, we're not getting a ton of variation in pitch. Like, she is so consistent with this melody here, despite that intensity. I love that sustained note because it was so consistent for the entire duration of the note. I think it's so easy to change breath pressure, change dynamics, change vowel shaping. All of these things fluctuate oftentimes in held or sustained notes, and to hear so much consistency in that, I think was brilliant. Going back, the constant jumping from chest voice into head voice, it's such a huge testament to the dexterity that she has between registers. I'll back it up just a little bit more. The amount of breath pressure that's like behind those notes, I think, is so incredible. We get that little pop up into head voice, but as she descends, there is still so much breath pressure behind that. It almost feels like shaky, but not in a vulnerable way, just shaky because of the intensity behind that pressure. And it's not just head voice and chest voice. I really don't talk about modes on the channel just because, well, there are a few reasons. I feel like talking about registers for a lot of singers can be maybe a little easier to grasp because it's more about sensation. It's more about what you're feeling as a singer. Whereas when we talk about modes, that is like physiological vibration patterns. And so also coming from a classical background, it can be very confusing for someone to say, opera is sung in mode 1, but also this contemporary or more like pop or something, a more contemporary style is also in mode 1 because they feel so different. So when you're someone who has been trained to build and strengthen your head voice, it's almost as if you need a different way of classifying what's happening in your voice to better understand transitions. All that being said, the reason I bring this up is because when you think about modes, like the vibrational pattern of mode 1 is how do I say this? I'm trying to correlate it with words I've already used on the channel. We might associate that with sounds that are more pressed, that have firmer adduction. And when we talk about mode 2, what some people would call falsetto, it's like there's an airiness to it. And so even though she's going into head voice, she's also doing it in a very airy, breathy way. And so not only are we going back and forth between like which muscle is doing more work between the TA muscle and the CT muscle, but she's also going back and forth between like pressed, firm adduction and that really breathy approach. That was a really long way of saying something that probably could have been much more brief, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it as we watch again. Okay, so right there, it's all in a similar range, but we had something very pressed, chest dominant, and then we switched to something head dominant and very breathy last time. I know I mentioned this during the Patreon hangout as well, but watching this performance, I think what sort of blew me away, aside from her vocals, is the commitment that she has on stage to the performance itself. The intensity in her body, the movement, nothing sacrificed like the vocal integrity of what we heard. And so to hear both, to hear the pristine vocals and to watch just what, like the stage presence, the captivating way she delivered everything, I think the two combined is just really special and not always something we get to enjoy. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching with me, and hopefully I will see you next time.